There we are. Good Thursday, everyone. So excited to see you this morning at our webinar, which is entitled Why We Ruin Good Things. Oh my goodness. So excited about this and so much good stuff to share today. So let's jump right into this. Have any of you ever felt like you've ruined something good in your life, that you're your own worst enemy, that you're the one that causes the most problems in your life? If you've ever felt like that for even a minute, can you just raise your hand for me? Let's just make sure that we can find our raise the hand button this morning. That'll help me. Let me make sure I can find my raise the hand button. There it is, right there. Yeah, right? I'm not alone. Okay, because I've often felt like if that I'm the worst common denominator of everything in my life because I am the common denominator of everything that goes on in my life. And most definitely, Crystal says, yes, Tammy says, me for sure. Right? We have this tendency to do this. So ever since I got my neuroscience degree in, let's see, it's been almost 2 months ago now. Ever since I got my neuroscience degree, I have been really delving in and studying this and going, why is this that we're causing our own trouble? And what can we do about it? So today, my intention is to help you understand that there are things that you can do about it and to be able to take steps to do something about it. So, would anybody like steps to be able to interrupt their own pattern of self-sabotage? If you want that in the chat, say yes for me. I want to just see if I get a few yeses, because if I don't get any yeses, then we need to change subjects this morning. All right. Oh, yeah. Look, there's a whole bunch of yeses. I love it. Good morning. Good morning to everybody. Let's see. Leanne and Brenda and Shelby and Lillian and Justin and Crystal and Bonnie and Jessica and oh my goodness, the names are going too fast, but everybody is saying yes. Hey, Myron, let's see. Oh my gosh. Love it, love it, love it. Marilyn, so glad to see you here. Vicky, also fun to see some people I haven't seen in a long time. So welcome, welcome this morning. My name is Ann Washburn, if you don't know who my education is, I'm an engineer and a neuroscientist, and that's what these are down here. I am certified as a mental wellness coach. I got my neuroscience certification and micro bachelor's degree from Harvard. I have a degree in mechanical engineering. I'm a member of the National Speakers Association. I've been on lots of different news stations as the body language expert. So in my current life, what I do is I use my skills as a body language expert, as an engineer, and as a neuroscientist to be able to help people get out of their own way and access more of their amazingness. I like to think of myself as a confidence and a self-image coach because when we can get to where we like the person in the mirror, it is really hard to stop us from anything because we human beings are unbelievably amazing. That's one of the things that I learned while I was in my neuroscience classes. So I want you to meet a girl this morning, and her name is Victoria Arlen. Has anybody ever heard of Victoria Arlen? Let me put her name right here for you so you can see that. Um, Victoria Arlen. Arlen. All right. Nope, lots of no's now. All right, so nobody has heard of Victoria Arlen. Well, neither had I. I had not heard of her either. But then her Victoria Arlen has quite the interesting story. So in 2012, you see her here. She competed on the 2012 US Paralympic swim team, and she won 4 medals. Why is this going to make me cry already? Oh my goodness. She won 4 medals. She won 1 gold and 3 silvers. And the reason she was able to compete in the but then what's really fascinating about Victoria Arlen is then she went on in 2017 to compete in the 2017 25th let me see, get it right here. The 25th season of Dancing with the Stars. And on Dancing with the Stars, she was no longer in a wheelchair. So she has quite the interesting story. So let's see if I can put one more, because I just decided this morning I wanted to share this story with you. So forgive me for not having a slide ready for this. Oh, that one does not have great resolution. Let's see if I can get a better resolution of that picture. Okay. Watching Ann do technology in the moment. There we go. Okay. So here is Victoria Arlen. So here's what's super cool. What's really interesting about her. So let me tell you about her. So what happened was at the age of 10 years old, she developed two very rare diseases, neurological diseases that put her into a vegetative state for over 4 years. So she went into this vegetative state and she didn't come out of it until she was 15 years old. And so she was what they call locked in. She had zero control of her whole body, even her eyes. She couldn't even move her eyes, but she had awareness. She was aware of everything that was going on. And that's probably why it's going to make me cry. Can you imagine having zero control over your entire body from fifth grade until high school? Can you imagine that, you guys? It's crazy. And so and for the first several years of her condition, they kept telling her parents it was all in her head, that she was making it up, that she just wanted attention. It was a crazy thing. So she went into this locked in state where she could feel all the pain of her body, but she couldn't do anything about it. All right. And so let me just start there, because that's what it is in our lives. When we're ruining good things, we can feel all the pain in our life that we're causing, but we can't seem to do anything about it. Does that connect to anybody but me? Maybe that's why it's going to make me cry this morning, is because I are so often in my life that I have felt like I can feel the pain in my life, but I can't do anything about it. And so we end up repeating these cycles over and over and over again. And so she's written a book and it's called Locked In, and I happened upon this book by accident. And so I read it recently. I thought that it was a self-help book when it came across my path, but it's not. It's just her autobiography. So in there, she talks about becoming conscious. So they had put her into a medically induced coma at the age of 11 and or 12. I might not get the details perfectly here. And then at the age of 14, she suddenly woke up inside of her body, but could do nothing. She couldn't let anybody even know that she was there. And she was having seizures every 2 to 5 minutes that would send terrible electrical pain through her whole body. And she could feel all of this, but she couldn't let anybody know. So she lived in this pain, in this locked in state until the age of 15 years old, when they almost accidentally gave her some sleeping medication that started to intervene in the medical problem she was having. And she was able to start waking up. And so what happened is, as she finally became conscious enough, she could start by just moving her eyes. That was the first thing. And she was so excited. She was so grateful that she could just move her eyes. And then she got to where she could blink. And as soon as she got blinking, now she could communicate with her world, because now people could ask her yes, no questions and she could answer with one blink or two blinks. You've all heard those kinds of stories where people would communicate with just a single blink. And she was so grateful and she was so excited that she could just blink. And then it worked up to she started being able to have more control of facial muscles. And then she got to where she could stay conscious or not conscious. I don't remember what they called it, but they got her to where she was stable enough that she could go home. And every little thing, when she could move a finger, she was so excited. She was so grateful. And she got to where she could talk. And so now she could communicate. She still couldn't eat, she couldn't swallow, but she could communicate. And now she could let people know what all the pain was that had been going on in her life for these last 4 years, all these terrible, horrendous things that had happened to her. Because they had put her into psych wards because they thought she was pretending and she had torturous events that happened to her there. But she had not lost. She said that what kept her going was her extreme love of life. So in this vegetative state, she became extremely grateful for the tiniest things, for the just the most minuscule that we take for granted. I mean, the excitement that she had when she was just able to blink. And so in our lives, I'll tell you what happened and how she ended up on the Olympic team because that was a whole nother miraculous story. But I first want to help us draw a parallel here because in our lives, we end up causing a lot of our own locked in state. It's like all of us grow up and we get this beliefs about ourselves that get locked in for us. And we now live inside of a state that we're looking out and going, I know there can be more. I wish I could have more influence on my world. I wish I could communicate better with the people around me. I wish I could better my relationships. I wish I could like the person that I see in the mirror. I wish I could quit making the same mistakes over and over again or attracting the same negative people to me. Raise your hand if you can relate to any of this for me. Does any of this sound like, oh my gosh, yeah, Ann, you're talking to me. Okay, look, there's lots of hands. So I'm talking to the right group of people. And so that's my intention today is I want to help us be able to take steps, little tiny steps and some bigger steps because that's what Victoria did. She took little tiny steps. She got to where she could blink her eyes, she could move a finger. But then you know what she wanted to do? She wanted to be on a hockey team. She wanted to be on a hockey team. So she asked her dad, who had been a professional hockey player, to get her to put her in a hockey sled and take her to a rink. And he pushed her around because she wanted to experience this. She wanted to try something new. But how often are we too afraid to start something new? Because, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. So, in order for us to be ready for this, I want you to get a piece of paper or a place on your computer or your phone where you can answer some questions. Or you know what? Better yet, just type them into the chat. That'll be fantastic. Because I am going to ask you some questions because questions are something that unlock information inside of our head. As a body language expert, this is what I have chosen to use my superpowers for, is to be able to help people find answers. And one of the ways that we do this is by asking great questions. So I want to unlock some room in your head for new information by asking you some questions. So I'm going to ask you these questions and then I'm going to ask you to consider new perspectives. Because unless we'll consider and look at something a different way, we stay locked in the way it's always been. And today I want us to be able to take the key and unlock the door, whether you choose to unlock the door a little bit or a lot of bit, that's up to you. But I'm going to present options to you on how you can take new action. So this is what I want from you today as we have this interaction is I want you to be willing to participate. Okay? Give me answers in the chat. I want you to consider new perspectives. And at the end of this webinar, I want you to choose new actions that you're going to take. If you're willing to do these three things today, these three things, then in the chat say, I'm in. Say, I'm in, so I know that we have an agreement. Oh, okay. I was worried for a second. I was like, there's no ins, but now here they're all coming through. There's a little bit of a delay. Perfect. Okay. So those of you that have been on webinars with me before, you know that I like to use questions. I like to use questions, and I'm going to explain more than ever today why I use them. But I also have more questions than usual. So take a deep breath and let's move to our first set of questions. All right, so on this first screen, I want you to, in the chat, look, I've put a number on these. I want you to pick all of these that apply to you. What is your most familiar sabotage pattern or patterns? Let's put an S on there. What is your most familiar pattern or patterns? Number one, eating or health habits. Two, clutter, overwhelm, or emotional hoarding. Three, relationship drama or emotional withdrawal. Number four, overcommitment. Do any of you do that? Number five, procrastinating or quitting when things get good. Six, not starting at all, stuck in indecision. Seven, people pleasing or ignoring your own needs. Negative self-talk or identity, goals or finances, meaning you never seem to accomplish what you need or what you choose. Or number 10, I'm not sure, but I know that I do it. Okay? So put all of them that can apply to you and just answer that in the chat for me. And if you're on YouTube, put it in the comments for me. Please put it in the comments. Let me know which ones yours are. Oh, I see a lot of number twos. Wow, a lot of clutter, a lot of overwhelm, a lot of number seven. Oh, people pleasing. Okay, what other number do I see a lot? They're going by pretty quick here. Number four. Ooh, overcommitment. All of them, some more, some less. Yep, well said. Okay, so now we're aware that we have some of these. Okay, let's move to the second question. Which thought pattern feels the most familiar to you? Select one. So now they're labeled A, B, C, D, E. I'll probably fail, so why try? I don't deserve this opportunity. So remember, this is a thought pattern. It doesn't mean that it's exactly worded like you're used to, but um, I'll give you an option F, which is other. So I don't deserve this opportunity. If it's not perfect, it's not worth doing. Others have it all together, but I don't. So there's comparisons. E, I'll deal with this later, pushing it down the road. Okay. So all of them at one time or another. Yep. Okay, so just pick them. There's no right or wrong. You are not going to be marked wrong on this, I promise. Okay, so pick yours and put them in the chat. Okay. All right, next one. How often do you notice negative thoughts stopping you from pursuing something good or like a goal, a relationship, or an opportunity? Is it daily, a few times a week, occasionally, or rarely? Oh, a lot of B's on that one. A few times a week. Wow. All the time, daily. Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is good awareness. This is good awareness. Okay, the next one. When you have a negative thought, for example, not enough, I'm not enough, how do you usually respond to a negative thought? I believe it, I feel discouraged. B, I ignore it and push forward. C, I try to argue against it, but I struggle. Or D, I observe it and let it pass. What is your what is your most common? So this is how do you usually respond? Oh, a lot of B's on that one. Got to think on this one, huh? Hmm. I ignore it and push forward. So a lot of B's on that one. Oh, some ACs. Okay. Good to know. I try to argue against it, but I struggle with that, right? Good. Isn't that interesting to think about that? We don't usually think about how we respond to the thoughts in our head. Sorry about this purple reflection on my glasses. Trying to see if I can get it to go away. All right, ready? Have you ever tried to disprove a negative thought? For example, challenging the thought I'm a failure by listing evidence like I succeed at fill in the blank. Yes, and it helped me feel better. Yes, but it didn't change much. No, but I'm curious to try. Or no, I usually believe my thoughts. Ooh, I like it. Lots of A's on this one. Excellent. A's and B's, B's and A, B, A, B, B, A, C. I do good at it. Good job, you guys. All right, so let's talk about the brain, magnets, and the spirit. Okay, let's talk about these. And I have to have my notes too right on here. So I make sure and tell you all these things. All right, so let's talk about these things. Your nervous system, the hard truth. And this is not a pretty slide. This is just one. I was just going to tell you this, but I decided to let you, or to have a place you can read it while I'm talking. There's a negative familiar and a positive unfamiliar. As we're growing up, everybody on this planet is born to imperfect parents. And maybe we aren't even raised by our parents. So, like my dad wasn't raised by his parents. My dad was raised by foster care. So whoever raised you was imperfect. Doesn't matter who it was, they were not perfect. They didn't have a rule book, they didn't know how you worked. And so the reality is, they gave you some of their own challenges. The people that raised you superimposed on you some of their own scripts that go through their head. So maybe I'll use me as an example. So I had a mom who felt like she had to, her, how can I describe my mom in this way? She felt like she was less than everyone around her, that everybody, um, oh, I'm trying to decide how to explain this without jumping ahead in what we're going to talk about. So I'm just going to jump in. So my mom was stuck in a developmental age. So her developmental age, she was stuck in what in when we first arrive at our teenage years, we start to believe that that everybody is looking at us and that everything that I'm going through is unique. And I forgot to write down the psychology term for this. But what we're doing is we're believing that we're being watched by everyone. And because of that, we get shut down. We get shut down and we compare ourselves and we worry about everything that's going on in our life, and we can't put ourselves out there. We can't go try new things because we're so worried about what everybody thinks about us. And this is a stage. We're supposed to go through that in our early teenage years, and we're supposed to work our way through it. But my mom, she never got through it. She got stuck. She got locked in a belief that everybody was judging her. Everyone was judging her. And so at my house growing up, there were certain rules in place. One of the rules was and these were unspoken but understood rules. And one of these rules was if somebody rang the front doorbell, nobody answered the door. What they did was everybody ran to the front room to clean it up and wait while my mom ran down the hall and got in her room. And when she closed the door, then you could answer the front door. That was the unspoken rule. So here she was as a 30 something or a 40 something or a 50 something year old person, and she was still locked in this belief that everybody was judging her. Excuse me. So we had lots of these unspoken rules that we behaved. So she would superimpose these beliefs onto me because I was the oldest guinea pig, right? And so these beliefs, I would absorb them because we all do this. We're very sensitive growing up to the feelings and beliefs of our parents. So write this on your paper. What we think and feel about ourselves passes on to our kids more than what we actually tell them. So, what I think and feel about me, that passes on to my kids more than what I say to them. Now, don't get me wrong, what we repeatedly say to our kids also affects them, but we can lock this into our kids just by what we think and feel about ourselves. And I don't care how old your kids are. Maybe your kids are adults. Maybe your kids have their own kids. Maybe your kids have grandkids. It doesn't matter. Maybe they're just brand new babies. Our kids absorb more from how we think and feel about ourselves than anything we ever say to them. And so we end up in a negative familiar state. Your nervous system has been wired as you grow up by negative familiar, right? Actions speak louder than words. But I'm talking about not even actions. I'm talking about how you think and feel about yourself. That is sensed by the people around you. And so if you try to pretend on the outside that you are always positive, happy, cheerful person, but on the inside you're like, "Oh, I'm so worried about the world," they will feel the "I'm so worried about the world" much more than "I'm happy and confident," pretending on the outside. So we are raised in a negative familiar state. And the positive is unfamiliar. It's unfamiliar. So your nervous system now, as an adult, because I assume a lot of you are at least teenagers or adults, that our nervous system does not seek that which is healthy. It seeks that which is familiar. So now here I am as an adult, and I've been wired with the negative familiar. So what do I seek more of? I seek more of the negative that is familiar because that's what your nervous system is wired to do. Your nervous system and your subconscious, they work in tangents. So you've got your subconscious and you've got your brain stem here that runs your nervous system. And they together are trying to help you have experiences that are the same that you have survived in the past. Your nervous system doesn't care about your goals. Your nervous system does not care, right here, your brain and your nervous system, they don't care about truth or joy or what is good for you. It cares about the chemicals that it's used to. In other words, what is familiar to you, you already know how to survive. And this is safer than trying something new. Your nervous system tries really hard to help you repeat and recycle the experiences you've already been through. We're going to talk more about this, okay? But I need you to understand this hard truth. This hard truth is that your nervous system is helping you recycle your experiences. So you are locked in, just like our dear Victoria, you are locked in to these beliefs and these patterns because in your nervous system wants you to have what you can survive. And all your nervous system knows is what you've been through in the past. You know how to survive. And so, okay, now I'm getting ahead of myself. So your brain is trying really hard. That's its job, is it works all day long to help you recycle and repeat pattern after pattern after pattern. And the problem is we now misinterpret this or mislabel it as intuition or our gut feeling. This is why sometimes people are really frustrated with their gut feeling because they go with their gut and then it works wrong. Well, it's not working wrong. It's working exactly the way it was wired to work, which is to help you recycle and repeat past experiences because those are safe. Those are safe. Um, so the brain has to, okay, yeah, let's go down this path really quick. The brain has um, I don't even know the number, but it's got trillions of neural pathways in there. But as you age, as you get older, your brain has to trim these neural pathways in favor of becoming an expert at something. So as a child, we have the ability to learn something new really, really quickly. And that's very powerful. But as we age, we have to choose certain pathways to go down so that we can become an expert. There's a quote that I don't remember who it's by, but it says, every man is born many and dies as a single man. And what this is referring to is that when we're born as a baby, we have all these possibilities of who to become or what we can be good at, but we can't be good at everything. We have to choose something. Um, there was this violinist, and he's a professional violinist. I don't remember his name. Maybe somebody here knows. And he played amazingly beautiful. And one day, this other person came up to him and said, "Oh my gosh, I would give my life to be able to play like you do." And the violinist looked at him and he said, "That's what I did. I gave my life to play like this." Because that's in order to play like that, he had given up everything else at a young age to be able to become an expert. Now, how do we become an expert? As an expert, the way we become an expert is we repeat something over and over and over again. The way I become an expert at body language is by repeating my skills over and over and over and over again. You've heard the concept that it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert. Well, that is choosing to repeat a behavior over and over and over again. So as a body language expert, I have the ability, I can look at somebody. It's kind of somebody yesterday called it wizardry. I can look at somebody, I can watch what's going on in their body language, and I can see through that body language into their brain and from their brain into their past and see the pattern that has been repeated over and over and over in their life. What they have gotten really good at that isn't good for them. So, what have you gotten really good at that isn't good for you? That's the subject today. Because growing up meant that we had to choose to repeat something over and over and over again. Uh, and the first choice for repetition in our nervous system is the familiar. And so we get wired, every one of you, including me, including Adam, that's backing us up in the background today. We all have been wired with negative things. And that's actually okay if you can find out what to do different. Because overriding it is where the power is. Overriding it is huge. So the hard truth is this: if it feels familiar to your nervous system, it feels safe. If it feels safe, it becomes attractive. And if it's attractive, it becomes repeated. Um, Sorry, let me get my chat where I can see it more easily. There we go. Actually, I'm going to move it onto this screen right here. There we go. Okay. So this right here. So take a screenshot of this or take note of this and understand this is what your nervous system is doing. It is going to repeat something repeatedly until you tell it otherwise. So the new is viewed as unsafe until I teach my brain what I actually want. I mean, this is what new looks like to your brain. It looks like a trap ready to spring. And so we will avoid the new at all cost. Um, and so it looks like this. We're going to call this emotional magnetics. If you aren't moving towards what you want, you are being pulled by a magnetic force. And we need to find what that magnetic force is. So here's what I say that I want. I want this thing, but something is pulling me away from it. And so you can find this in your life by answering this question. What is something? Oh, I wrote this down for you. What keeps happening that I say I don't want? What keeps happening in my life that I say I don't want? Hmm. Think about that question for a minute. Maybe something that keeps happening is you keep eating sugar. Maybe that something that you say you don't want is you are disorganized or you're always late or you keep repeating the same kinds of arguments with people in your life or relationships keep going in a downward direction. Zoning out, that's a good one, Kathy. So we want to be able to look at this. What is it that keeps happening in my life that I say I don't want? This is so if I keep saying, and it's the opposite too, right? If I keep saying, um, what I want is this, but I keep moving in a different direction, there is something pulling on me. And this something is familiar. It's something from my past because your past goes clear up to yesterday, right? So all of 2024 is in your past. So there's a lot of past back there. And it's pulling on me because it wants to help me be able to have a choice of doing something else. Okay, so now I'm getting ahead of myself. So last month, remember, we talked about instant gratification. We talked about dopamine fatigue because dopamine, and if you didn't watch last month's webinar, then you missed out on me explaining how we get stuck and how we get exhausted in moving towards things and give up. Because our brain wants to be rescued from any kind of discomfort. And the problem is in our world, we have way too easy of rescue. We have instant information, instant stuff, instant rescuing, instant solutions, instant certainty, food, learning, excuses, procrastination. All of these things we can have with almost no effort. If I want, if I want some, let's just say my favorite treat, okay? Let's say I have this one kind of black licorice I like. Well, you can't buy it at any store, and I don't know how to make it, but I can have it this easily. Shoop. And then it shows up on my front porch. That's how easy it is to have stuff in our modern world. Well, this is wearing our brain out. It's wearing out our ability to be able to get outside of our past programming. What is fawn? Fawn is people pleasing, is a way to look at it, Jessica. Um, I'm fawning is oh, here, I even have a good picture of fawning. This is what fawning looks like. It's trying to get people, being really needy. That's a way of explaining fawn. Does that make sense? Okay, excellent. Okay, so I want to talk about the four main magnets that are pulling us towards our past, but I want to couple it with that idea that because we're so exhausted from our instant gratification, it's really easy for our past magnetics to pull us away from what we want. It's actually in a world Okay, I'll get a little soapboxy for a second. But in a world where I can have anything I want instantly, why is it that we accomplish less of what we want? Well, the reason is because of these magnetics. So I'm going to talk about the four main magnets that pull us towards our past. Are there other ones? Sure, but a lot of them can be lumped into these four categories. Because the scary thing is this, repeated thoughts and emotions can create habitual chemical states in the body, leading individuals to become neurochemically attached to the conditions in their life. That's Joe Dispenza. So, in other words, everything that goes on in a person's life is because of the chemicals their body is habituated to. You are used to the results that you have. And until you can quit wanting to be used to those, you are destined to repeat those behaviors. So go back and talk a minute about Victoria. So Victoria, when she came out of her vegetative state, she she got to where she could swim. She was still paralyzed from the waist down, and she couldn't walk. She couldn't walk for 10 years. And then she started to learn to walk again, but with no feeling in her legs. She had zero feeling as she learned to walk. But she was able to go to the Paralympics in swimming because of a single thing that happened. And it was this. She started to swim and she wanted to swim the breaststroke because as a 10-year-old, she was swimming and loved the breaststroke. But you really have to have legs to do that. So the only thing she could do was freestyle. So she had to give up. So listen to this. So she had to give up the idea that it had to be a certain way, and she had to be willing to try something new. So she was doing freestyle, which means you go this way, right? And she was getting pretty fast at it. And so she was trying to find somebody that would take her on to be her coach. And she kept getting rejected. People kept telling her, "Oh, no, you're too old. It's too late. It's too something, right? You're too whatever." And she would be told this over and over again, and it became frustrating. So she left her town and went to other towns to try to find a coach that would coach her. So she went to this one meet, and this amazing coach came up to her and was like, "Oh my gosh, you're such a good swimmer. I'm so excited. What are your goals? What are your goals?" And she looked at him and instantly she said, "This is my goal. I want to go to the 2012 Olympics." And this was in like 2010. So it was only 2 years. It was a very short time away. Maybe it was 2011. It was not far away. And she's like, "I want to do this. I want to go to the 2012 Olympic Games in London." And he looks at her and he goes, "Well, I'm sorry, dear, you can't do that. People have to train for 4 years to those. So maybe you could go to the next one after that." And he just told her all the reasons it couldn't happen. And she listened to these reasons and was like, "Oh, yeah, you're right." She agreed with him on all of them. So they were in the car. So her mom drove her everywhere because she couldn't drive. And her mom on the way home was really quiet. And Victoria was just thinking through this, and she was giving up. She was giving up on her dream and believing what this coach had said to her. And her mom, she says she remembers, her mom pulls over in a Dunkin' Donut parking lot. She stops the car, she turns around and she points at Victoria and she says, "Don't you ever let anyone tell you what you can and cannot do. Not even me." And when I read that, I was like, "Oh, I've heard this," because there was that movie with Will Smith in it where what was it called? Something happiness, where he does the same thing. He tells his son, "Don't you ever let anyone tell you what you can and can't do, including me." Well, this is the interesting thing. We believe that. We go, yeah, nobody can tell me what I can and can't do. We're really big on that in our world. And we get on social media and we're like, nobody gets to tell me what to do. But you know who we keep letting tell us what we can and can't do? The voices in our head and our past magnetics. Thank you, Jessica. The Pursuit of Happiness. Yep, that's the movie. So it was the same story that Victoria got from her mom. And I should have got a picture of Victoria's mom, right? Because she's a big part of this story. And our parents and whoever was our upbringing is a big part of our story. But the problem is we're letting those beliefs and scripts from our past tell us what to do. We aren't fighting them. We're locked into those past experiences instead of arguing with them. We have a God-given gift of arguing. Anybody who's a good arguer? Raise your hand if you're a good arguer. I'm a good arguer. Am I the only one? Oh, me and Crystal. Okay, good. Come on. There's got to be a few more arguers here. How about rebellious? Are you good at being rebellious? We are really good at being rebellious. We're really good at being at arguing. But you know what we don't rebel against or argue enough is what's going on in our own head, the magnetics that are pulling us back. And the reason for it, so let's just look at these. I kind of liked how this slide turned out. Even though it's black and white, this so feels like what it's good at. So, yes, you're good at rebellion. Yes, you're good at arguing, but you don't argue with what's going on in here. So, let's look at what these main magnets are. So, the first one is the familiar magnet. I'm drawn to what feels like home, even if it hurts. This is what I know. When I'm treated how I'm used to being, I feel God, I can read. When I'm treated how I'm used to being treated, I feel like I belong. I feel like it. So now it's not that it feels good. That's the problem here. It's there's no labeling it as good. It's not good. It's familiar. Your brain, let me get this really through to your head. Your brain doesn't care if it feels good. It cares if it feels familiar because what? Familiar is safe and safe gets repeated, right? Familiar is safe. Safe is attractive. Oh, yes, safe. Safe, safe, safe is attractive and it becomes repeated. Okay, so the familiar, I'm drawn to what feels like what I'm used to. So if growing up I was treated like I wasn't important, I'm going to be drawn to people that treat me like I'm not important. So let's say I was ignored as a child. I'm going to be attracted to relationships where people take their attention away from me, where I'm not looked at. And so maybe the kind of relationships I have as an adult match how I was treated when I was a child. And so I'm looking for the sameness. So this first is that's why it's called familiar. I'm looking for familiar because it's like, oh, yes, I know what to do with this. I know what to do with this because it's familiar. And so if I'm used to being ignored, I look for being ignored. And then I complain about it. I'm like, why does everybody ignore me? Because I'm behaving as if the problem is out there. But I am drawn to the problem being a repeated thing. So in one of my webinars a few months ago, I used this slide right here because we become fragile humans when we think that the outside is where the problem is. When I think that the problem is out here, it's outside of me. But the reason why I'm drawn to this familiar is because in here it feels the same. So does that make sense? Okay, so a few of you in the comments said, oh, yeah, that's me. So just tell me in the comments when you find one of these that's you, Put it in the comments so I know, right? And you can be several of these. So one is I'm used to being treated a certain way. I'm used to it. And so I look for that. And the next one is the unfinished business magnet. So this is I'm being drawn to people and situations that mirror past wounds, hoping I can finally fix it. So, for example, let's say that I was raised by a dad who was real, or a mom, let's say mom. I was raised by a mom who was really chaotic. I wasn't, but if I was raised by a mom that was really chaotic, I might look for a spouse or a relationship with a chaotic person, hoping that I can finally make it work. Maybe I can make it work this time and prove that I'm enough. So unfinished business means that I'm repeating relationships from my past so that I have an opportunity to prove my worth. If I can make it work this time, if I can get this person that is like my mom to love me, then I can finally feel like mom loves me. So even so now I might be trying to get mom to like me, so I marry a guy that behaves like my mom, hoping I can finally prove myself. Um, this is why people marry the same type of person unless they get help to overcome choosing the previous type of person. Right, because they don't understand why they're choosing them. I witnessed this recently because my son was interested in this girl, but she was raised in a chaotic environment, and my son is not chaos at all. My son is confident and calm and loyal. He's the opposite of chaos. And so, to somebody who's used to chaos, that feels boring. And so they're like, oh, no, no, no. Even though they say they want peace, what they want is to be able to feel, how shall I say this? Peace becomes the absence of adrenaline instead of an actual positive place. And so they don't want that opposite of adrenaline because they're trying to prove themselves. They want a relationship that's that kind of chaos. So hopefully it can end a different way. So that's another way we could label this instead of just unfinished business. It's trying to get a new ending from the same story. I don't like how the story ended, so I want to repeat the same story and try for a different ending. Does that make sense? So if this one matches you, put it in the chat so I know, okay? Does anybody relate to this one? And then the next magnet is the projection magnet. And oh, and I forgot to tell you in the chat, you can toggle it so only I see your responses. Some of you have found that. If you don't want everyone to see your responses, just put them so that I can see them, okay? Isn't the definition of insane doing the same thing, expecting a different outcome? Um, it's attributed to a few different people, Kathy, but what I would submit here is the idea that then we're all insane because we are all repeating the same thing, hoping for different outcomes. This is part of our wiring. We're wired as humans to try to repeat past negatives instead of trying to get the positive uncomfortable. So let me go back to that slide really quick. The negative familiar versus the positive unfamiliar. We don't want that positive unfamiliar because we've gotten so, oh, I forgot to say this, because we've gotten so good, we've become experts at the negative experiences. We've become experts at them. We've pruned our neural pathways as we've grown up into a place that I'm really good at the negative. I'm really good at it. And so, since I'm so good at it, I want to keep repeating what I'm good at. We like to repeat what we're good at. So, if I'm good at a negative experience, I will repeat it. If I'm good at these magnets, I will repeat it. Okay. So number three is the projection magnet. So what this means is the projection oh, I forgot to show you this. Okay, so the unfinished business magnet is this. We become really needy in relationships because we're trying to get the other person to finally accept me so that I feel like that person in my past finally accepts me. But it doesn't work. Becoming needy is not the same as being confident or choosing in. So the next one is the projection magnet. I act out or become how I was treated. So if I was treated angry, distant, busy, disconnected, I might become the angry, distant, busy, or disconnected person, right? There's the song, the Cats in the Cradle and the Silver Spoons. I don't know the title of that, but you know that song? That's the same thing. It talks about how the dad was distant with his son, and then when his son grows up, his son is distant with him. We become how we were treated, or the extreme opposite of how I was treated. So if I was treated with chaos, I might be over the top organized or extremely punctual. Or the opposite. Like my dad, it was like, you will always be on time. Time is so important. So, you know what? When I grew up, I was late a lot. It was like, you can't tell me what to do. So then that was actually a projection magnet for me. I was, I was rebelling against what was put on top of me. And so instead of if I'm raised in a militant, organized environment, I might become cluttered and disorganized or distracted easily. So this one, I have a lot of projection magnet that I found in me. Do you have any of that one? Does anybody have any of that one? And how do you do it? Are you becoming how you were treated, or are you the opposite of how you were treated? Tell me in the chat. I'd love to know. Um, oh, okay. Some of both. Yeah, I'm the opposite. I'm becoming how I was treated, opposite. Yeah. So being able to recognize that is super helpful because we can't do something different unless we can start to recognize what's going on. Okay, good, you guys. Okay. Um, So then let's go to the next magnet here, the identity magnet. So the identity magnet is this. I'm attracted to people who match how we see ourselves or how we fear others see us. So this is a lot my story. I talk about how when I first got into body language, the reason I got into body language was because I felt like I couldn't communicate with people. I felt like no matter how hard I tried to be nice, I was always in trouble. People were always mad at me. And I'm like, why am I always in trouble? Well, now 15 years later that I understand what's going on, it's because I was always in trouble as a kid. I was so worried about being in trouble. And that feeling of being in trouble or somebody being mad at me was so familiar and that I sought that out in my experiences as an adult. So I would go to my kids' school and I would have other parents who would be mad at me. I went to my husband's baseball game one time, and another wife of another one of the players came over and started yelling at me. And I had my neighbor one time, she knocked on my door, and when I answered it, she started yelling at me because her dogs were in my yard chasing my kids. So she was mad at me. And I'm like, why am I always in trouble? Because we send out these messages in our body language that teach people what we think about ourselves. My body language is telling other people how I feel about me, and they now feel like they have permission to treat me a certain way. They look at me they have permission to treat me how I am used to seeing myself. Okay, let me say that one more time. We send out messages that give people permission to treat us the way we feel about ourselves. So look what's going on here. Parents pass on to their kids how they feel about themselves. And then the kids feel that way about themselves, and then they send out messages to people around them that gives them permission to treat me the way my mom felt about her. So I'm being treated the way my parents felt about themselves. Isn't that kind of crazy? Me right now, as this human in 2025 on this planet, I am being treated the way my mom, who died in 2018, felt about herself. Isn't that crazy? And so and the identity magnet becomes my behavior proves my worth. So maybe it's like, oh my gosh, I have got to excel at everything. And so I become an overachiever because my behavior now dictates my worth or confirms my doubts. This magnet pulls you towards roles, relationships, and dynamics that affirm who you believe you are, for better or for worse. Sometimes we sabotage not because of pain from the past, but because success threatens our story about ourselves. So this was me. This was me. I went to college and decided to break the mold. I was going to be an engineer, which I am an engineer, but I was going to be an engineer and I was going to go against all of the things that people said I couldn't do. But then, as an engineer, what did I do? I sought out situations where I still felt less than. So sure, on the outside, I'm breaking the mold, right? I'm I'm proving my worth. And at the same time, I'm seeking out experiences where people will treat me less than because it matches what I think I'm supposed to be treated as. Does that make sense? Oh yeah, you guys are putting a lot of these in the chat. I love it. When I just teach you things that I had to learn about me or about that were useful to help the thousands of people that I've mentored. And so I've watched this over and over and over again. So I have a little bit of all of these in me. The familiar, oh yeah, it feels good for people to be mad at me. Not, but the problem is with the word good, right? Um, the word good is a problem because it says that I'm feeling a positive, happy way, but I'm not. I'm feeling a familiar way. So I'm labeling good as familiar and I don't realize it. But good, what I want good to be is happy and joyful, but it's not. It's familiar. So I have some of that. I have some of this unfinished business magnet. I often thought, oh my gosh, I married somebody just like my dad. Anybody ever thought that? Or anybody ever said that to a child? Oh, I hope you get a child just like you, right? We see this happen over and over and over again. Shauna says, I'd love to be like my mom. She's my hero, but I don't see myself as like her. Uh, so remember, this doesn't have to be any particular adult. This can come from anywhere. And don't get me wrong, my mom is absolutely my hero because she didn't pass the same kind of upbringing on to me that she was raised with. But I still am acting out some of her feelings she had about herself. Uh, right? Yeah. I can relate to the identity magnet by achieving to prove my value. Yep. Excellent. Okay. So I also have some projection magnet. As an adult, when I first had my kids, both my husband and we didn't know how to raise kids. We thought we did. When you're a teenager, you think you know stuff, but you don't. Um, and so then as an adult, Sorry, my brain just went three different directions. Um, as an adult, when I had these kids, it's like, well, I don't know what to do, so I'll just do whatever my parents did. And it's like that's our default return to state is what we were modeled. So I had some of this one. And then I had a lot of this one. I got myself in situations that matched how I thought I was the how I felt, not the ought, but how I felt I was supposed to be treated. And so I got in trouble a lot, right? But this messes up our compass. Our internal compass gets messed up when we're using the identity magnet. Because now instead of letting the compass point towards north and then we move towards north, we put the compass where we want to go and we try to make north match it. We try to move north to match our compass instead of moving our compass to match north. So the question becomes this. So this is a picture of a safety deposit box. And what do we put inside of safety deposit boxes? We put things that are very valuable to us, right? We put things that we want, that are our treasure. That's what's inside of our safety deposit box. But the question is, at what will be your treasure at the end of life? When you arrive at your end of life, what's going to be found inside of your safety deposit box? What are you going to see inside of there? Is it going to be safety or is it going to be growth? What did you value most? Did you know that um, they've done surveys of people in end of life facilities that um, they didn't have long left to live, maybe from old age, maybe from illnesses, whatever it is. And they asked them, "What is it that you wish was different? What is it that you regret?" And what was interesting was that almost universally, what people regretted was not what they did, but what they did not do. At the end of life, people regretted not taking action. They regretted what they didn't do. And the things that we don't do are most of the time out of safety. And where does safety come from? It comes from familiar. And so is safety a good thing? Or is safety just a familiar repeat? So in the scriptures, it talks about how the sins of the parents will be passed to their children to the third and fourth generation. I probably messed up that quote, but you know what I'm talking about? And I think this is a lot where that comes from, is that we pass on the behaviors that we're familiar with. And so this is why families will be caught in poverty for generation after generation, or they'll be caught in abuse cycles for generation after generation, or they'll be caught in neglect cycles. Whatever it is, we get trapped in these cycles because it's familiar to our brain. And so the in life, fear in life is a given. It's an absolute given because we live on a forward timeline, meaning we can never know the future. We love to look at the past and go, oh, yeah, it was so clear that this was going to happen. But it's not clear when we're looking from here to the future. That's why they say hindsight is 2020, but looking forward is not 2020 vision. So in life, fear is a given. How you respond to it is not. And so we need to learn how to see these magnets in our lives, and we need to learn what to do about them. Anybody want to have some ideas on what you can do about the magnets in your life? If you want to know some ideas of what to do, say yes with an exclamation mark in the chat for me. Oh, lots of yeses with lots of exclamation marks. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Um, So let me talk about this really quick. I'm not going to talk about this whole slide. This is something that I've been covering in my group mentoring lately, is that there are, because um, today and or this coming week, I'm going to be on several different podcasts. And on one of the podcasts, they want me to talk about what are the seven things, and this list has eight. What are the seven things that we all experience on this planet, regardless of religion? What are the things that we all experience? Well, one of them is opposition, which we've just talked about, right? We get to experience opposition. It's hardwired into us from our experiences growing up. Well, the next thing we all get to do is make choices. We get to practice agency. Fear is my worst enemy. Well, let's talk about that. Agency means that I have to be able to make choices. I have to be able to see what my choice is. Now, a lot of what we've been talking about, these magnets, these have gone under the surface, under the radar of our conscious mind for most of our life. And that means that since I haven't been conscious of them, I actually haven't been making a choice. So I need to understand how to access agency, or how do I become conscious so that I can make choices? How do I access and use this superpower? Because the ability to choose is a superpower. It truly is. And I just don't know how very often to do that. Um, so let me make sure. Okay. So let's go back and talk about our friend Victoria again. So Victoria, she's in this parking lot and her mom is like, don't let anyone tell you what you can or can't do, or can or can't accomplish, or what your goal can or can't be. Don't let anybody tell that to you. And she went, you know what? You're right. You're right. And she's like, I got all fired up that day because my mom was telling me I get to be in charge of me. And so she went and she found another coach. And this coach asked her again, what is her goal? And she says, I want to go to the Olympics. And instead of laughing at her or consoling her or anything like other people had treated her, she was looking to be treated differently. And he instead said, well, what about winning a medal? And she's like, well, wait, what do you mean? He goes, I'm not going to coach you unless your goal is to actually win. I'm not going to coach you if you're not going to be willing to win. And she's like, yes, absolutely. And she had no idea what she was getting in for, because this coach now, he took her every day past her comfort zone. Now she had to go through uncomfortable every day, because that's where freedom begins. Freedom begins in the uncomfortable. Bondage matches your familiar pain. We are in bondage as long as we're trying to play out our pain over and over and over again. Freedom begins in the uncomfortable. And this coach brought her into the uncomfortable. If she was even 1 minute late, so he coached other Olympic athletes, but not para-Olympic athletes. But he treated her exactly like the other athletes. So even though she would have to come to the swimming pool in a wheelchair, if she was even 1 minute late, she would get the same consequences as the other ones would get. And so she went through the uncomfortable. She used to swim 2,000 yards a day. Now she was swimming 10,000 yards a day. She was being pushed out of her comfort zone. But it was so that she could get to the positive. That's the problem, is we're so addicted to the comfortable. So like this dopamine fatigue that we get into is because we're addicted to the comfortable, not the positive. You are not actually looking most of the time in your life for positive. You're looking for comfortable. And as long as comfortable is what we want most, then bondage is what we get most. So if I look for safety throughout my life, then in my safety deposit box at the end of my life, I'm going to find things like sadness and frustration and broken dreams and missed goals and lack of action because I didn't dare step through the uncomfortable. Because that's where the freedom begins, is in the uncomfortable. And so for sure, he pushed her, and she ended up at the 2012 Olympic Games. She swam, she won 4 medals. And then she got to go make other decisions. She got to go try other things. So I want to show you how can we begin to step into this uncomfortable? How can I begin to desire? Because this is what we've been um, training on in my group coaching is how to desire or step into the positive uncomfortable over the negative familiar. This is the real battle. This is the battle that we're at every day and we don't realize it. Nobody told us that when I wake up in the morning, I need to fight this battle every single day. People tell us to brush our teeth and to fight the battle of tooth decay. And people tell us to take a shower and fight the battle of smelling bad. And people tell us to go to school and learn a trade. But what they don't tell us is every single day. This isn't every single day, not some days. You don't do it once in a while. Every single day, you need to be fighting for the positive uncomfortable over the negative familiar. This is hugely important. We'll make it huge. Hugely important. Am I getting the point across? Um, I have to be willing. I have to be willing to want and step into the positive uncomfortable. Make sense? Okay, so how do I do this? How do I access the choices? The first thing is I've got to start spotting the places where I'm choosing into the negative familiar. I got to start noticing them. Do I have to notice every one of them right now? No, I don't. I do not have to notice every one of them right now. A few of you are having to leave to work in places, so let me just tell you, I will send out a replay link so you can watch the rest of this, or you can share it with somebody because I've had lots of questions about this. As long as technology works, Adam will send out an email to those of you that were on today so that you can watch the rest of it. Okay. So thank you. Thank you for being here. And those that want to share it with somebody, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Um, I have worked with a population that have spent many years incarcerated, right? They often self-sabotage and end up reincarcerated because that is what they know and it's comfortable for them. Absolutely. And it can be generationally slow. So the first step is I've got to be willing to spot the loops in my own life. I don't have to see all of them at once, but if I can start seeing one of them, it will teach me how to spot the next one. If I can see a little one. So for me, I realized that one of the reasons I was late all the time was I was still rebelling against my dad's wanting me to be punctual all the time. And once I saw that, once it became a conscious understanding, now I had agency. Now I could make a choice about it because I could see what the choice was. Magnets work against us because they're working with our subconscious mind, not our conscious mind. So I want to be able to understand and step in to the consciousness of what's going on. So spot a loop. And one of the ways you can spot a loop is what keeps happening that I say I don't want. And that's one of the things that would happen for me is I was late and I'm like, but I don't want to be late. So there's a loop. That's all I have to do for step one is just say, yep, there's a loop. There's something that has repeated. Can you guys do that? Can you think of something in your life that repeats and you keep saying you don't want it? Tell me something in the chat if you can think one. Because your brain is going to try to tell you, oh no, I would have to sit and think about this for a long time. No, that is your brain making an excuse to not spot the loop. So just take 10 seconds right now and go, what keeps repeating? Huh? What keeps repeating in my life? Marriage keeps repeating in your life. Oh, I don't want distance in my marriage. There you go. Yep. There you go. That's a good one, Tammy. It's like, oh, I keep having distance in my marriage, but I say I don't want that. Then there's the loop. Okay, lack of money. There you go. Eating sugar. There's a good one. Procrastination. Okay, so your brain is going to use excuses to not look at this. So what I want to be able to do is I want to be able to spot it. Okay. I just want to spot it. That's step one. Um, good. Yeah. So this could be our kryptonite. It is our kryptonite because this is what I've devoted my life to is being able to help people spot their kryptonites. Let's look at what those are. Because imagine if I understood better how to do that. Um, I love it. Yeah, look at that. Great answers, you guys. So look at that. You spotted a loop. Your brain is going to tell you, oh no, I have to sit down and I have to take 20 minutes out and I've got to journal for 15 pages and then I will find it. No, that is your brain trying to help you have more negative familiar by avoiding positive, unfamiliar for even one step. I just have to poke my toe into the water of the negative familiar, of the positive familiar. Okay, just put your toe in it, spot something. Okay, then after you spot it, right? I don't have time to put it this way. Just pile it. Yep. Um, right, Shauna? There are so many things right in front of me that I don't see that when I do see it, I'm amazed that I couldn't see it before. Exactly. That's why this is step one. That's why step one is to spot the loop. If you can start spotting the loop, now you start to teach your brain new behavior, and that's valuable. Okay, so step two. Put a name on it. Which of these magnets could it be? What magnet could it be? Um, let's add that there. What magnet could it be? And I'd say could because you don't have to get it perfect. You don't have to be exactly right. You just look at the magnets and go, oh, am I repeating what my parents did? Is this something that's familiar to me and it's just the way I always like it? The sugar magnet. Yep. So the magnet itself, Barb, isn't the sugar. The magnet is why I return to the sugar, right? Does sugar help me feel a certain way? Does sugar help me, or does sabotaging my health goals help me to believe something about myself? Because that's the identity magnet. So if eating sugar helps me to believe something negative about myself or feel a certain way, so if I believe something, it's an identity magnet. If I feel something, it's the familiar magnet. Okay? Yeah, Brenda says, will you share the slide just before that one? That would be great if I was going in order the last few slides. So I don't know what one was right before. This one? Okay. Which of the four magnets could it be? Or what is the lie or the belief that I'm validating? So if I'm going to go back to yours, Barb. If I'm keep getting drawn back to sugar, what, how does it feel to return to the sugar? Maybe I'm like, oh, and I'm beating myself up inside my head, but in my body, I'm going, phew, oh, I don't have to move forward. I get to self-sabotage, or I'm not worthy of that. Or if I thought about it long enough, maybe it's like my mom, who she after she had my little sister, she had three kids in 3 years. So me, then my brother, then my sister. She's 3 years younger than me. So she had three kids in 3 years, and then she lost a ton of weight. She got looking really good, and she went to the store, and a guy started talking to her, freaked her out. So she ran home and she told me, she goes, and I didn't stop eating till I gained 100 pounds. And then I have a thumbs up somehow. Because that was unfamiliar to her to have somebody actually talk to her at the store. And so I got to be willing to check in. What is the liar belief that I'm validating? And hers was that it wasn't safe for people to talk to her. And there's lots of reasons for that she had that belief. But what am I doing? I'm working on awareness. That's what these steps are for. So the first step is spot the loop, awareness. Start putting a name on it. That's a loop. And it might be this magnet. See, it's practice, right? When our math teacher taught us how to do addition when we were back in first grade, well, the math teacher would then have us go practice, and then they would check the answers. It didn't matter if you got it right or wrong. I mean, it did, don't get me wrong. It didn't matter if we got it right or wrong as long as we learned the pattern. So I got it wrong. That actually would teach me how to do it right. So don't worry about labeling it wrong. If you'll do it enough, you get to where it becomes right more of the time. Just like addition. I did the addition enough. When I got one wrong, it taught me something, and I would get it right more and more often. So now I don't get addition wrong very often. Can I? Sure. But the point is, I need to start raising my awareness, or else there's no choice. Because choices don't happen in the subconscious, choices happen in the conscious mind. Default happens in the subconscious. So as long as I'm not staying conscious, default happens. And what is your default? Negative familiar. So if I don't want default, I got to raise my awareness so that I can access my agency. Does that make sense? Have I belabored that point enough? Okay, now number 3 is this. Trace the source. Who taught you this was normal? So if I find my magnet, let's say I find my belief. I find my belief that that we'll use my mom, that it's not safe for people to talk to you. Who or what taught you this was normal? So for my mom, what taught her this was normal is her mom always told her. Her mom always told her it's not safe. You can't. Don't be out there talking to people, right? And um, so my mom had this belief, and now she could trace it. We did this actual activity when my mom was dying of cancer. Okay. I talked to her. I'm like, well, who taught you this was normal? And so we talked about how that had become the normal growing up, that her mom had taught it to her. So she'd learned it not just in the what her mom had said, but how her mom felt. So her mom, yeah, we don't have time for that whole can of worms, but there was a lot of we traced the source. Who is it? Who taught you? Now, let me clarify, you aren't judging someone, because a lot of times, so like Shauna said earlier, oh no, I would love to be like my mom. I would love to be like my mom too. But does that mean I didn't absorb some of her negative? No. And does that mean she didn't have any negative? Absolutely not. That's the problem. We aren't judging here. There's no judgment happening. What we're doing instead is we're getting information for awareness. I want to become aware. And that's powerful. That's powerful if I can become aware of what's going on. Okay? So we are uh so we're not judging, so it's okay to say this is where I got it from. Because a lot of us, a lot of people that I've worked with, I found this hiccup in them. And this hiccup is that they believe that if they say that it came from a parent, that they're judging that parent, or they're being less grateful to that parent, or they're doing some other kind of bad thing. There is no bad that's happening when you trace the source. Does that make sense, you guys? Uh, right? Okay. So, in other words, in other words, please be willing to say that your mom messed you up. It doesn't mean your mom was bad. I'll just say it that way. Or your dad, or your aunt, or your third grade teacher. Okay. My third grade teacher, she was great and she messed me up. Okay. You can be both at the same time. This is why I keep an and on my desk right here, because I want to remember that two things can be true at the same time. If I think that only one of them can be true at once, I limit my ability to take a conscious choice or a conscious step. All right, so be willing to trace the source. Does this mean that you have to sit down for an hour and trace the source? No. Start by pretending. If I knew who taught me this, who would it be? Okay, so there's another way we can ask it. If I knew where this started, who would that be with? Okay. Or you can word it however you want. But the point is, ask the question. If I knew where this started, who would that be with? Who started it? Where did it start? Or where would that be? But there's usually a who or an experience. If I knew where this started, that'll mess people's grammar up if I say who. Okay. Then step 4. Um, and we have 5 steps. We have 5 steps. So step 4, I need to become friends with my mind. This up here has not been your friend for much of your life. So it was interesting to me when I asked you the questions at the beginning. A lot of you said, let's go back to that question there. A lot of you said, um, this one right here. When you have a negative thought, how do you usually respond? A lot of you said, I observe it and let it pass. And I was like, oh. And then a lot of you said, have you ever tried to disprove a negative thought? Yes, and it helped me feel better. So my next question for this would be, how often do you disprove those negative thoughts? Because for example, in my group mentoring this week, one of their homeworks is to make tally marks of how many times they make an excuse during the day. Because we make way more excuses than we think we do. And if I don't become conscious of how often I'm making a negative, an excuse, I don't realize how many negative thoughts are going through my head. Because yes, we will disprove a negative thought and it helps us feel better. And then we let 10 more negative thoughts come by that bully us, and they are not very nice. So we need to learn how to become friends with our mind instead of letting our mind be a bully. Because be honest with me, on a given day, let's just say what percentage of the time are the thoughts in your head a bully? 0 to 100, what percentage of the time are the thoughts in your head not very nice towards you or towards somebody else? So maybe they say something mean about you or about another person, but or they try to make an excuse or they try to distract you from a positive uncomfortable. What's the percentage? Everybody give me a number. What percentage of the time do your thoughts um, trick you or dupe you? Um, 90, 80, 20, 30, over 50. So everybody give me a number. Be willing to give me a number here. Don't worry about getting it right, just the first thing that pops in your head. How often are your thoughts not very nice? Okay, so then the next question is this. If your number is less than 50, why haven't you achieved your goals that you're trying to achieve? Why aren't your relationships the way you want them to be? I would submit that part of the reason for that is we're in the habit of ignoring them or glossing over them. We actually don't pay attention to what's going on because most of the time our self-sabotage is connected to some of our thinking. Sure, we bypass it a lot, but it's because the negatives become so familiar, it doesn't have to loop in my head, it just loops in my behavior. So I would suggest that when people start paying attention to the thoughts in their head, they actually find out that they have let a lot of thoughts go through without um, vetting them. That's the word I want. Without vetting them. I need to actually vet my thinking. Is my thinking helping me or is it hindering me? So how do I do this? So I call this thought cross-examination. This is how I can cross-examine a thought. And if you would do this once a day, this would start to help your thoughts realize you're going to pay attention and they won't just try to slide under the surface so much. They realize, oh my gosh, Anne really wants to do something different. And so what do? You write down a thought. And when I started paying attention to this, I figured my thoughts were pretty good because I've worked on my thoughts a lot over the last decade. And I thought that they were pretty good. But what I found out was I have certain negative thoughts on repeat that I don't count in my tally marks. So I noticed I would say to myself a lot, I had a little default saying, I would go, oh, I'm an idiot. Oh, I'm an idiot. And I would just use it as a filler statement. And it wasn't even getting tallied in my percentage of how often a thought was negative in my head. Do any of you have a little pet phrase that goes through your head? Do- Am I the only one? I just have this one. It goes, oh, I'm an idiot. I'm such an idiot. And I don't even count it. Well, I need to catch that little looping thought. No, I actually want feedback on this. Raise your hand for me if you have any negative looping thought like this. Yeah, well, duh. Yeah, there's a good one. Yeah. Okay. So not very many of you. Do you really not have very many? You don't have a negative thought, or you just don't want to admit it right now? I catch myself and say, silly Billy. Why bother? You can't change anyway. I should have seen that one coming. Yep, that was stupid. Good, good. Okay, if you pay attention, you'll notice that there's a negative thought that's going through your head often enough that you don't even count it in your percentage of negative thinking. But it is eroding you. It's working against you. It's working against you. And what it does is it wears on our ability to love life. It erodes our ability to love life. When we allow that negative comment to just eat away at, it's like acid. We just keep pouring a little acid in our soul. That's what's going on here. We're pouring a little acid into our soul. And it's like, oh, life is just going to feel hard. And then I start getting to this until I can get to some place in the future. I start to get this, I call it your fairy tale idea that if any of you watched my emotional coping styles webinar that I did, because it's super powerful understanding what am I using as my emotional coping style. And if you've watched that, if you couple it with what I'm teaching you today, this is like this is like college level ability stuff here. I mean, results. You're going to get college level results, not just kindergarten level results by coupling these two things. Well, I had this fairy tale idea that life will be good when I arrive at this. And I kept stopping myself from moving forward towards this fairy tale place because this negative thought would rode at me and go, yeah, I'll never get there. Yeah, I can't do that. I was letting the thoughts in my head tell me what I could and could not do. Does that make sense? I was letting, so just like our friend Victoria, she was letting that first coach tell her what she could and couldn't do. And her mom was like, don't let anybody tell you what you can and can't do. You are letting the thoughts in your head tell you what you can and can't do. You are letting them. And so I'm trying to help you choose in to not letting your thoughts tell you what to do. And so if you are letting a thought go through your head over and over and over again, I'm stupid, I'm an idiot, I can't do this, that was dumb, well, duh, or it'll never happen, or stupid, 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 or any of those things, then I am letting my thoughts pull me, you guys. I'm letting my thoughts pull me into the negative familiar. That's what's going on here. My thoughts are pulling me down. They're sucking me dry. They're pulling me into a place that at the end of life, if somebody asks me, what do I regret? What am I going to say? I regret the things I did not do because I was just trying to stay in the safety of the negative familiar. That's the problem, is that the negative familiar is so safe. Oh, dang, it's so safe. This is why there are so few people who actually, oh, dang it. There are so few people that will actually break generational bonds and do something different because it feels so good to stay in that pattern. And so if you don't find that one that erodes you and then put it through this cross-examination process. So I write down, I'm an idiot. And then I ask, is this 100% true always and in every case? And I'm like, no, of course not. Ah. But sometimes we're like, yes, it is. It always is. In every case, it is. And it's like, really? You can't find any place that it's not? Then I need to gather some kind of counter evidence. What kind of could possibly be a counter evidence? So if mine is, I'm an idiot, I'm like, well, I did pass my neuroscience classes. Well, then why am I telling myself I'm an idiot? Ugh. So then I need to reframe it. Okay, sometimes I feel like I made a stupid choice, but I also am getting smarter and better from the things that I did, that my mistakes that I made. Okay, I need to rewire my brain and strengthen my emotional resilience. Um, Sometimes I need support, but I also bring value. I think it should say sometimes I need support and I also bring value. Oh, yeah, you're right. I like that, Alicia. I just talked about the word and, right? Because and is a superpower. Thank you, Alicia. I love that. Yep, and is a superpower. Uh, and so then step five that I didn't put here that I'm going to create right now is because when I woke up this morning, I'm like, oh, Ann, there's a five and you didn't put it in there. And that is I need to tone my nervous system because if I don't if I don't train my nervous system for the positive familiar, it will be it will be drawn to the negative familiar, to the positive unfamiliar. It will be drawn to the negative familiar all day long because the brain will scheme the scenarios that produce the chemical cocktail it's used to. And your body speaks before your words ever arrive. So I'm sending these messages out to people around me, and I'm telling them, this is what I believe about myself. Please treat me that way. Please treat me that way. Because freedom begins in that uncomfortable. Consider this. In the Old Testament, there's this story about a guy you might have heard of. His name's Moses. And Moses, what does he do? He goes and gets a whole bunch of people and he pulls them out of their comfort zone. And he takes all these people, I don't know um, how many he pulled, how many slaves were there that Moses led? Does anybody know that? I don't know it off the top of my head. But Moses, he takes all these people and he pulls them out of their comfort zone and he pulls them into the wilderness. And in the wilderness, what do? They complain. Oh, we should just go back to being slaves. Anybody heard that story before? We are wired to return to the negative familiar. We don't even want the positive uncomfortable. Will you show the last slide? Sure, if I knew what the last slide was. This one? Or maybe this one. Maybe it was that one. Okay. So here we are. We are craving the negative familiar. So much just like the children of Israel, they're following Moses, and Moses is like, let's go to a better place. And they step out of Egypt and go, ah, this is unfamiliar. This is terrible. Let's go back. And Moses is like, okay, come on. We got to talk here. We got to talk because we need to be willing to step through this uncomfortable long enough to arrive at a better place because the freedom begins in the uncomfortable. What do we have if we stay in the comfortable? We have bondage. Bondage right here. We have bondage. I don't want bondage. I want positive uncomfortable. Tell me what you choose in the chat. What do you want? Do you want the bondage or do you want the positive uncomfortable? The freedom that comes from choosing that positive uncomfortable. Tell me freedom in the chat if you want the freedom. Yeah, okay, there's the freedoms coming right there. It takes a minute to type freedom, right? I want the positive uncomfortable. I want the freedom that comes with that. So why will we not do it? Why will we not do it? What will be the thing that will stop you? Tell me in the chat. What is going to stop you from accessing your positive uncomfortable? What is going to be the thing that keeps you in bondage? What's going to keep you in bondage? I actually want an answer. Laziness, negativity, nothing. I'm here. Something. Well, if so, did you learn what you needed to learn here to get out of negative familiar? Or do you need more? What do you need? Doing the work. Procrastination, but I can change that. Don't feel like I can based off of past evidence, lazy or self-doubt, fear, feeling like I lack time, right? The one of those excuses. Excuses love to pull us down. Because here's what's at stake, you guys. This is May 22nd, 2025. It's almost the 6th month of the year, which is halfway through 2025. Most of us are still trying to wrap our brain around the idea that it's 2025. If I don't interrupt current behavior now, everyone around me is going to have permission to keep being the negative versions of their patterns. If I don't interrupt my patterns, then I give people permission around me to stay in their patterns. I do. So, when he was in driver's ed, so he got his driver's permit, and now he's supposed to start driving with me, right? And he's never had a chance to drive after dark before. And he's actually never had a chance to drive on the highway. So we were at his school, and his school is about 10 miles north of where I live. And we decide, okay, you want to drive home? Great. So he gets in the car to drive home. And he gets on the highway and he starts driving down the highway. And we aren't even 1 mile down the highway. 1 mile. And I kid you not one, not two, not three, not four, but 7 deer run out in front of him. 7 deer jump out in front of the car. 7 deer. So now he has, he's never been behind the wheel before. And I'm like, okay, I need to take over. And I'm like, I can't take over. He's in the driver's seat. So what are we going to do? And as this 7 deer come across, he goes around this deer, around this deer. 2 deer go over here. He goes this way. He zags one more time, and he gets through all 7 deer and doesn't hit any of them. He didn't hit any of the 7 deer. And I'm going, oh my goodness, that was amazing. That was amazing. How did you miss all of those deer? Well, in our life, how often do we actually miss the deer? Or how often do we actually smack into one of them? Or how often do we feel like they just keep coming? They just keep coming and I don't know what to do. But this is the way it is in our lives. We need to be willing to keep doing the zigs and the zags that will help us to get through what we need to get through. And oh, you guys, if we don't do it, we're just going to keep smacking into things. We're just going to keep smacking into our old behaviors. But we don't have to. It actually is possible to get through the patterns that are in front of us. But I gotta be willing to step up. I gotta be willing to take a new action. And so you guys, if you need help taking the action, because remember, we are all a drop in a pond of the world. And every time I put a drop of it's okay to stay in your negative familiar. It's okay to feel bad about yourself. It's okay to keep letting the magnets pull me back into the way I was. Every time I do that, I give the world permission to stay more negative. But if I'm willing to quit letting the magnets pull me down, if I'm willing to do something different, the whole world will have a chance. The whole world. You are one drop on this planet, but every single drop matters. Every single one. And so that I'm super excited to announce that for the first time since 2029, we get to, no, 2029, that's funny. The first time since 2019, we get to do Break Free Intensive live in person. Because why do I do Break Free Intensive? Who here has been to Break Free Intensive? Raise your hand if you've been to that class. Oh, awesome. Okay, so the reason I do this class is because We often need help to be able to see what is the thing that I keep getting stuck in. What do I keep getting stuck in? And and that's what I can do with my as a body language expert is I can watch through your body language into your brain, see where it connects to your past and show you how to interrupt the pattern. And you know what's even more cool is watching when somebody else does it. Because if you if you get to if you get to break through your pattern, if you get to change something and it feels amazing, do you want to tell people about it? Do you want to show people? Do you want to do something? We often love telling people about what helps us. My husband's like this. As soon as something helps him, he's like on the phone with his siblings and his parents, and he's like, "You got to try this. This is so cool. This is so amazing." We love to be able to help other people with what we've learned. So at the Break Free Intensive class, this is what we do for 2 days in person, you guys. That means like I could give you a hug. I could squish your little cheeks and go, "Oh my gosh, I love you so much." Because in July of this year, the 11th and 12th in the Salt Lake area, we are going to have the Break Free Intensive class in person. So what do? We have people that come up on stage, and at on stage I am going to help them with what they're stuck in, and I'm going to show you what I'm watching, and I'm going to help them have the skill to break through what they are stuck in. I'll show them what their magnet is. I'll show them what's pulling them away from what they want. Now, the last time I got to teach this class in person was in 2019. Do you know how much I've learned between 2019 and 2025? Besides the fact that in that time, I got my mental wellness certification and I got my neuroscience degree. And besides that, I've worked with thousands of people in the interim. This is going to be off the charts. If you've been to this class before, come again. If you've never been, oh my gosh, welcome to a brave new amazing world. So you can scan this QR code or you can go to this link. Here's a little bit about Break Free Intensive. This is a chance to break out of those patterns, the generational ones that keep you stuck. If you're not accomplishing your goals, or if you are projecting, like we talked about, if you're living in clutter, or if you're living in chaos, or if you're living in relationships where you're ignored, or if you're living in a life where you just keep going through the same problems over and over and over again, come learn how to get past those. Let's practice this information like we just learned today. Let's practice it live in person for 2 days, you guys. So if you'll see on here, this is the flyer from 2019 when we used to do this class back before COVID, and it was $749. But when people would register, they would get a special price of $497. Well, I've reduced it for everybody on this webinar. I've reduced it to $297. Okay, but there's only 70 seats. There's only 70 seats left. So you got to sign up quickly so that you'll be able to get one of these seats. You can go to this link or you can go to this QR code because look at this. I love this. William said, I think he's on here. Anne is a godsend. Her skill in asking empowering questions and revealing my blind spots is unmatched. Truly a gift. If I had to capture the value of just the last 2 sessions working with her without using the word priceless, I'd say she set me free from a deeply limiting belief that was holding me back from stepping into who I really am power right here, right now. And the thing is, you guys, If you don't come to Break Free Intensive, you can work on this yourself. You can. But it takes longer to train ourselves. Trust me, I've had to learn this. A lot of everything that I teach, I've had to learn it myself. And it's taken 15 years to amass the expertise that I have. And so imagine if you came to 2 days of Break Free Intensive and it launched you forward years worth of practice. It moved you in a way that you would have a chance to influence others for good quicker. Because that's what we're up against in our world, you guys. We are so up against the fact that our world wants us to stay stuck. The just the instant gratification that goes on in our world, the instant gratification is trying to keep us stuck in a world of less than us. And I don't want you to be less than. I'm tired, you guys. I am so tired of watching people stop themselves and be less than. It's so hard for me to go into the grocery store and I almost have to mentally try to put like blindfolds on because I see how people are sabotaging their own relationships. I see how people are sabotaging um, their own goals. They don't get to where they need to be because they aren't taking the time right now to break out of that habit. When as people get older, and this starts at age 26, the brain is culling our transmitters, our pathways. It's culling them so quickly because it wants to know what we want to be good at. Okay, listen to me really carefully on this. Your brain is looking for what you want to be good at. It doesn't care if it's positive. It doesn't care if it's good for your family members. It doesn't care if it's good for your goals. It doesn't care if it's happy or joyful. But the scriptures say men are that they might have joy. Well, we're not automatically wired for joy. We have to choose joy. And the way we choose it is by showing our brain that we want neurotransmitters that lead to joy. But your nervous system is set up and wired to want the negative familiar. It's not set up to want or crave or even feel good with the positive. It's not. And so we have to teach our brain where we want it to be at the end of our life. Are we going to be somebody who, when we open um, the safe door, the what was that called? The safety deposit box of our life? Am I going to open it and see, yes, I stayed safe in the familiar? Yep, I did it. Good job, me. Or do I want to open it and see, oh my gosh, I did so much positive? Just like our friend Victoria, she went through some horrendous experiences in her life. But as I read about her, they said the biggest thing that that caused her to become who she was is she created an unquenchable love of life. How many days do you just love your life? You love looking in the mirror and going, oh my gosh, I love who I see in the mirror. I love my life. And most of us go, oh my gosh, I will love my life when. I will love my life when. But that's not what we need to be doing. We need to be interrupting that negative familiar and quit saying that loving of life is in the future. It is right now. And the way I do that is by stepping into the uncomfortable. Can you can you come to Break Free Intensive and be willing to come up on stage and let me stand right there on stage with you? and be willing to look at the stuck spot. And I'll gently poke on that, not just for you, but for your everyone that comes after you, everyone that you influence, everyone that you interact with. Because when you're up there on stage, I see the web of connection that goes from you to all the people that you interact with. And because you change and you step into that freedom of the uncomfortable, they now feel like they have permission to do that as well. And so if you haven't yet, click on that link or open that link that I gave you for Break Free Intensive because I put a surprise in there. I put a surprise. I've never done this before. But last night I was like, "Oh my gosh, we got to do something different here." And so when you click in there, go see if you can find the surprise. Go find it. And when you found it, tell me in the chat. Tell me that you found it. Because the Break Free Intensive class is fantastic. But sometimes people will say to me, "But what if I don't get to come up on stage?" Well, guess what? Watching the people that come up on stage is going to teach you about you. Maybe you're one of the ones that comes up on stage. Maybe you choose to come and not come up on stage and just watch the other people that come up there. They're going to teach you just what you need right now in your life to be able to just crack that door open or wide open, whichever you choose, to choosing into that positive uncomfortable. So when you come to the Break Free Intensive class, you're not doing it just for you. You're doing it, and you're not doing it just for 2 days. You're doing it for the rest of your life. You're doing it to influence all the people that you interact with from now till the rest of your life. So, um, where did my raise the hands go? So I want you to raise your hand for me if you are coming to the Break Free Intensive class, because there's already some of the seats are gone. So I want to know who on here is already coming to there's my button. Who's already coming to the Break Free Intensive class? Raise your hand for me. There we go. Oh, some of you are already coming. Cool, 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 cool. Okay, so the rest of you come to the Break Free Intensive class. If you click on the link, you'll see that it is from 10 to 5 on Friday, and then it is from 9 to 5 on Saturday. And we'll have a lunch break. We'll have a lunch break, and you'll get to sit there in the class. You'll have a table, so if you want to bring your laptop and take notes, then you can totally do that. But come to the Break Free Intensive class. So nobody told me they found the surprise yet. Did you click on it and find out what the surprise is? Okay, so if you click into the link at the top, there's a toggle where you can choose to come to Break Free Intensive, or you can choose to add on a one-on-one personal appointment with me. Okay. So, and I gave it at an amazing tuition, you guys. So because some people are sometimes worried that they won't have a chance to come up on stage. Well, now you don't have to worry about it because you can take this appointment and you can use it before Break Free Intensive, or you can use it after. And so you can toggle and you can choose the Break Free Intensive class, or you can choose to add on a one-on-one appointment with me. Does that make sense? Oh, you guys, it's going to be so much fun. It's going to be so much fun. And so this is what I'm going to do, you guys. Whoops, got my chat on the wrong window there. Okay. So there's only 70 seats for the Break Free Intensive. So pick one of those seats for sure. But I'm gonna do this. Oh, I can't show you. I have a bonus for those of you who sign up in the next 24 hours. If you choose to sign up in the next 24 hours, I'm going to give you 4 bonuses if you sign up in the next 24 hours. So these bonuses are this. You get my work booklet that teaches you how to upgrade what you're afraid other people think about you. Because remember, that's one of the magnets that works on us is what we think other people think about us. And so as long as we're letting, like my mom, we're letting fear of judgment or fear of what other people think about us work on us, then we're going to keep getting drawn into our past magnets. The next one is my worksheet on fear is a flashlight. How to upgrade fear in a way that we can use it to point to what we actually want that will bring us joy. And this fear is a flashlight. This is pretty powerful, you guys, because when I can when I can quit using fear as a way to stay compliant to my magnets in my life, I have a completely different opportunity for my future. So it is so powerful, you guys. Um, and I don't know what screen it just went on. And then if you've ever listened to my audiobooks, I have one called The Bucket List, and it shows you how to separate fear into two different buckets and how to take action on the fear that will grow you. But when you add fear as a flashlight to this is going to change the way you look at your world. It will. It will. And then the last one is I'm going to give you a write-up that I just did recently about fasting and how fasting can be used as a nervous system upgrade. Because remember how I said that our nervous system needs to be that we need to tone our nervous system. We need to prepare our nervous system for the positive, uncomfortable in our life. And so fasting is actually one of the ways that I can prepare my nervous system for that positive, uncomfortable that I'm choosing into. Because if we will choose into positive, uncomfortable, even just once a day for the future, for the foreseeable future, you will open up your future into completely different possibilities. And it's so powerful. Okay, so the Break Free Intensive class, live in person, July 11th and 12th. Please come give me a hug. I would love to see you in person. There's only 70 seats, and then these for the next 24 hours, if you register in the next 24 hours, you're going to get these emailed to you. Okay. You're going to get access to these 3 audiobooks and you're going to get these 3 downloads that I personally prepared this week for you. Are you excited? Who will receive this? Will you receive this? Yes, Tammy, you need to come down in person for sure. Oh, Justin, yes, change your conflicts if you can and come to this class. Um, yeah, you have to click the register button to find the offer, right? And so take advantage of it. Use this QR code, but take advantage of the option to purchase a one-on-one appointment with me. And we were going to meet over Zoom, just you and me, for an hour. And then we can work on whatever you want to work on. Awesome. Julie already registered. Fantastic. All right, you guys. Have you learned something today? Can you raise your hand if you learned something today? Yay! Brenda's coming. Myron will receive it. Awesome. Julie's already registered. I love it. Very cool. All right. So, you guys, my last request for you. Oh, I made this. I made this new. We just made this morning. Adam helped me with it. This shows, just try out this link. It's a surprise. Just try out this link and see what you find out, okay? Cool. So the last thing I want to know is what action are you going to take because of what you learned today? Tell me in the chat what action is going to happen because you learned something new today. Because if you learn something new and you don't take action, you will have to relearn it. You'll have to relearn it. And so maybe your action is you are going to share this recording of this webinar with somebody who needs it. The QR code says it doesn't exist. You know what? I didn't try this QR code. I did try the link. Okay, the QR code does not work. Try this right here. Try this and tell me if that works. So you can just type this into your URL. Or Adam, can you put this link in the chat? Because the QR code is not working. Okay. Sometimes technology has to be changed in the moment. Okay, so click on that in the chat for me and tell me if somebody tell me if that one works. Okay, I will see if I can fix this. Almost there. All right, let's try this one and see if this one works. Okay, let's try that one. That link works? Okay, great. Okay, let's see if this QR code works. Nope, that QR code doesn't work either. Okay, so QR codes don't work. Use this link instead. Use that link. Okay, I love it. All right, so tell me in the chat, what you're going to do. I'm going to track my thoughts. Good. And use the cross-examination. I'm going to add to my book. Good job. Um, Aw, you're my favorite mentor. Thank you, Tammy. I love that. All right, so please, 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 please type what your action is going to be and come if you can, work it out. If you can change your schedule, I would if it were me, because I've been there, you guys. The reason I do Break Free Intensive is because the thing that changed my life the most was attending what was called the frying pan class. And at the frying pan class, I was up on stage while Kirk Duncan was the mentor working on me. And what he showed me was a complete blind spot for me. It was a complete blind spot. And I recorded what I learned from that in the audio book, Don't Dump Your Cup. And those of you that register for this class, you're going to receive that audiobook, the Don't Dump Your Cup, as one if you register in the next 24 hours. And that's what I learned. It was a complete blind spot for me, but I took action on the blind spot of what he showed me, and it changed the trajectory of my life, you guys. Imagine, just really quick here. Imagine that you're here and you're headed this direction. If you can just make a 1% change today, or at Break Free Intensive, maybe you make a 5% change, you're going to be clear over here next year. And so that is powerful, you guys. That is a powerful upgrade. You are worth that upgrade. Everyone in your life that you will touch because of that upgrade is worth it. Terry says, I'm in Zimbabwe. Awesome. Um, Okay, Terry, can you email the office and I will have them send you a link for that, okay? Because Terry says she is out of the country and so she can't come to the Break Free Intensive in person. Can you just purchase a one-on-one appointment? Yes, I don't have a link for that right here, but I will send it to you. So if you'll just email the office at support@3 keyelements.com. I'll have them make you a link because of your extenuating circumstance. Okay. I love that. I'm going to start write down a few things each day and see if I can spot the loop. I love it. Excellent. Okay, you guys are wonderful. Thank you for being here today. Go make a difference. You are a drop in the pond that ripples out every single day of your life. So, what will you do with today's drop? What are you going to do? Are you going to let it continue to be the negative familiar? Or are you going to step into that freedom? Step into the freedom and choose something different. I love you guys. Thank you for being here. And I can't wait to see you next time. And I can't wait to see you in person.